I felt sick the moment I walked through that door. Melinda Gates stood in Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan townhouse in 2013, shaking hands with a man she would later call evil personified. Her husband Bill smiled beside her. She had no idea this single meeting would haunt her for years, or that it would help destroy a 27-year marriage worth $76 billion. But that wasn't even the worst part. While the world watched Bill Gates become a tech god, Melinda was building an empire in the shadows. At 14, she was coding on an Apple II while other girls were at the mall. By 23, she'd turned down IBM, the safe choice, to gamble on a scrappy startup called Microsoft. By 32, she was running 1,700 people and products used in millions of homes worldwide. She helped create Encarta. She pioneered Expedia, which would become worth $19 billion. She was one of the only women in rooms full of men who thought they were smarter than her. And she was brilliant enough to prove them wrong every single time. But here's what nobody knew. The culture at Microsoft was so toxic, she almost quit in her first year. The meetings weren't discussions, they were combat zones. She watched powerful men behave in ways that made her stomach turn, including her future husband. In 2017, something happened that most people missed. A woman accused Bill's money manager of sexual harassment. Bill wanted to handle it quietly, sweep it under the rug, make it disappear with a settlement and an NDA. Melinda said no. She demanded an independent investigation. She pushed for accountability. And for the first time in their marriage, she stopped being the supportive wife and became the woman who refused to look away. Then came 2019. Microsoft's board started investigating Bill for an inappropriate relationship with a female engineer that allegedly started in 2000. Bill claimed he left the board to focus on philanthropy. The truth? The investigation forced him out. This was during the height of Me Too, and Melinda was watching the man she'd built a life with get exposed for behaviors she'd witnessed glimpses of for decades. But the real knife in the heart? Jeffrey Epstein. September 2013, Melinda and Bill visited Epstein's townhouse the same day they received a public service award. She said it made her physically ill. She told Bill in no uncertain terms that Epstein was off limits, evil, toxic, done. Bill kept meeting with him anyway, even after his arrest, even after his conviction, even after Melinda explicitly said this was destroying their marriage. Years later, Bill would admit it was a huge mistake, but by then, the damage was catastrophic. Melinda had panic attacks, nightmares. She lost herself for more than a decade standing next to one of the richest, most powerful men on earth, and she was crumbling from the inside out. Late 2019, New Mexico. Melinda suffered what friends described as a waking nightmare, a breakdown so intense it shattered whatever was left of her composure. When she returned, she contacted divorce lawyers. For 2 years, they kept it secret while attorneys worked behind closed doors. The world still saw the power couple saving lives through their foundation. Behind the scenes, Melinda was preparing to walk away from everything. May 2021, the announcement that shocked the planet. After 27 years and 3 children, the marriage was irretrievably broken. The settlement? $76 billion, one of the largest divorces in human history. In 2024, Melinda did something most billionaire ex-wives never do. She started talking. She stepped down from the Gates Foundation, the organization she'd helped build for over 20 years, to strike out on her own. Then, in April 2025, she released her memoir, The Next Day, and appeared on Stephen Colbert's show, and she held nothing back. She talked about Bill's infidelities, the affair with the Microsoft employee, the panic attacks that left her gasping for air, the nightmares that wouldn't stop. She said the divorce became necessary because intimacy is impossible when dishonesty sits in the middle of a relationship. No PR spin, no corporate speak, just raw, painful truth. The woman who'd spent decades smiling in photos next to a tech titan finally told the world what it cost her. But here's what makes Melinda's story extraordinary. She didn't just survive, she transformed. With her $15+ billion fortune, she created pivotal ventures, investing hundreds of millions of dollars into organizations empowering women and girls. She pledged $1 billion over 2 years for women's health. In Pakistan, her foundation helped finance programs that trained female health workers and nearly eradicated polio. Cases dropped 90% in 1 year. She backed everything from mental health initiatives to political campaigns increasing women's representation. And she found love again. In her own words, she's in a pretty great relationship and feeling more at peace than she has in years. The world knew Melinda Gates as Bill Gates, as a philanthropist, as a name on a foundation. What they didn't know, she was a woman who painted rental apartments at 10 years old, who coded when girls weren't supposed to code, who built billion-dollar products in rooms full of men who underestimated her. A woman who stood next to power for 27 years and then walked away from it all to reclaim herself. The $76 billion wasn't the story. The story was a woman who finally decided she was worth more than any amount of money could buy. She smiled in the photos, she ran the foundation, she raised the children, but the whole time she was keeping score. And when the truth finally came out, it changed everything.